But
That's
reconcile
so
that for me, Ethan, because
yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
different than what we've been reading lately. I mean, I think Ann and I talked on a recent podcast too. Like the consumer confidence seems like it's kind of getting worse and worse by the day here. So how do you reconcile that fact? Like what's the dynamic there that
I don't think
consumers are behaving differently?
I don't think it's true. I think
You
we
just
see
don't think it's
consumers.
true.
I think consumers are getting more confident. I think we have been dealing. I think one of the dynamics that we are not that is super difficult to handle with with sentiment is when you have such long periods of flux, right? So the idea of like, I mean, it's not that it's not true. Consumers are feeling a lack of confidence because they've been in this extended period of feeling it, but it's the feeling. And the behavior is very often different from the feeling. And this is one of the things that like I love about being in the space of behavioral data is those places where it conflicts with what people think they think is actually one of the most interesting places. So I do think there is a growing sense of confidence, and that confidence might just be, hey, this is the world we live in now. It might not be that I think things are fundamentally getting better or that they're going to be amazing like they were for a few years ago, but I'm just more comfortable within that space. So I'm willing to go and consider these purchases again. So it doesn't necessarily mean that one is wrong or the other is right. It means that the dynamics are shifting between them. And this is what's interesting is no matter what behavioral data set you kind of look at, these places come up and they come up fairly frequently. Like my favorite of all time was I was working at a company called SimilarWeb that did digital data. And it was immediately post Cambridge Analytica. And the scandal hit. And 25% of people in the UK, according to an Ipsos poll, said they were going to immediately download or were strongly considering immediately deleting Facebook and all relevant applications. And the change in behavior we saw away from the trend line that had existed the previous year was, it wasn't 25%, it wasn't 20%, it was 0%.
Yeah, right.
So very often what we think we're going to do and what we're going to do, and it doesn't mean that that isn't an powerful information or a powerful kind of input, but it's not the whole story.
Well, Ethan, I want to press you a little bit. I'm a little worried that I might be walking into your next like point here that you're going to make. So, but this is also at the aggregate level, right? So is there, does it look the same as you double click in by geography, by income type? Like, is there anything there as well that needs to be accounted for or taken into consideration?
Yeah. Very, very good point. There are definitely nuances here. And so take home improvement and furnishings. Home goods is doing much better, and they're a leader in this category with a lot of locations. So they're going to drive a lot of visits.
Okay.
And some players who are on the higher end side of this space. I think what's interesting is that in the past, it was affecting everyone. And even if it's affecting fewer of the players within, and so the value players are better situated because of this, because of what we're experiencing still, that does matter, obviously. But from a 30,000-foot view, watching that wider space see that kind of visit gap contract consistently is still very significant.
Okay.
Ethan, one other question too I have as we're talking about this second half of the year is, where are you projecting, like within an upcoming election here in the US? Like, do you think that, are you planning to see any ebbs and flows? Because I feel like we keep hearing like rumblings from some retailers about like, are people going to hesitate? And then will we see a big like push right after for the holidays? Like, have you started to take in any of that information or even to start hypothesizing based on some of the previous year's data that you have?
We don't have enough normal election cycles. Right. So that's the reality.
I think you could stop at normal elections. Yes. That's true.
It's kind of an oxymoronic phrase, actually. Yeah. Normal election cycle.
2020, we have it's still pandemic environment.
Right.
And so it very much influences the patterns that you saw. And our data starts Jan 1, 2017. So we don't see the full 2016 shift.
Got it.
So it is, I don't know the answer to that. It's very possible that it's right there in front of us and we just don't have the context necessarily to call it out.